Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. We are group 3, including 3 members, Thi Di, Ngọc Quyên, and me, Anh Thư. And today, we're gonna talk about the topic, problems, solutions, and notes when translating without equivalent language. Our presentation is divided into 3 main parts. First of all, we'll take a look at problems of translating without equivalent language, and then we cover some strategies to deal with these problems. And finally, we cover some notes when translating. Now let's start with the problems of translating without equivalent language we may face up with. The first problem is that translating culture-specific concepts. When translating, we often encounter words with cultural characteristics of the source language, and those concepts may relate to a religious belief, a social custom, or even a type of food. And these concepts often have no equivalence in the target language. For example, the Vietnamese concept phở, a Vietnamese traditional noodle soup, has no direct equivalent in English. And the second one is keeping the dynamics of the source language. When translating a text from one language into another language, you may come across words or phrases that have no direct words to convey their dynamics in the target language. For example, tâm đắc. The word tâm đắc can be translated into encouraging, interested, or loved. However, these words do not convey the full meaning of the word tâm đắc. And the third one is the lack of specialized terminology. There are many specialties with a large number of different terms, but not all terms have equivalent words in the target language. For example, in the field of law, different countries have different sets of laws and terms. Let's see the following phrase: the oath of office of the President of the United States. That is an oath or affirmation required by the United States Constitution before the President begins the execution of the office. And this term is not regulated by the law in Vietnam, so there is no Vietnamese equivalent for the oath of office in English. So we just have a temporary translation that lời tuyên thệ nhậm chức. And the next problem is translating idioms, proverbs. And it occurs when we translate idioms or proverbs in the source language that may not have direct translations with the same meaning in the target language. For example, let the grass grow under your feet. You can translate it as để cỏ mọc lên dưới chân. In Vietnamese, we have an idiom with the same meaning, nước đến chân mới nhảy. And the next one is about words that are not lexicalized in the target language. It means a concept exists in the source language and can be understood in the target culture, but does not have a single word or phrase to be expressed in the target language. For example, the word serendipity, it means the fact of finding interesting or valuable things by chance. However, there is no equivalent word in Vietnamese. We just understand it as một khám phá may mắn ngoài ý muốn. And the next one is about the target language lacks a general word. It occurs when the target language may have specific words but no general word to have the semantic field. This can lead to difficulties in translation, as the target language may require additional words or phrases to convey a similar meaning. For example, in Vietnamese, we have the word động vật is a general term that includes animals, reptiles, insects, and so on. However, In English, there is no single word that consists of all these categories. We usually use the word animal. However, animal is just something that lives and moves but is not a human, not bird, not reptile, not fish or insect. And the next one is about the use of loan words in the source text. Loan words are terms borrowed from another language. When we translate a text, we may see a loan word in the source text that is borrowed from another language, not the target language. So, for example, the word hygge, a Danish word for a quality of coziness that comes from doing simple things such as lighting candles, baking, or spending time at home with your family. And the final problem is that about onomatopoeias. It means the use of words, including sound, when translating text such as comics, novels, etc. We often encounter words used to imitate sounds emitted in nature or human sounds. For example, um, when the grandma cooks for the little girl spinach for her birthday, but she doesn't like spinach, and then she says, "Bleh." You may feel confused and don't know how to translate it. So these are eight problems you may struggle with. So in the next part, we will provide you with some strategies to deal with these problems.
So now here are some strategies to deal with this problem. First of all, translation with language creativity. It means that when translating documents or text, etc., we often encounter strange words, sentences, and structures without equivalent in the target language. Language creativity is one of the most effective ways to translate. For example, the Alison bag in this sentence, we cannot translate word by word as tôi bất cứ điều gì. No, such translations make our translation unnatural and misunderstandable. We can create the name of the bag but give it meaning. For example, túi, túi bách bảo, túi điều ước, etc. And, and the second strategy is that translation finding the word or phrase that best expresses the idea. This is also an effective solution when translating without equivalent language. In particular, it is often applied to idiom or collocation translation. For example, we have the sentence no pain, no gain. It means that it is necessary to suffer or work hard in order to succeed or make progress. So we can choose an idiom having the same message, like con trong này con này bên kia. So and have another strategy is translation by using loan words. The translator borrows a word from the source language and incorporates it into the target language text. In other words, preserve the structure or pronunciation of the word. This method is a technique used in translation when there is no direct equivalent for a particular term or concept in the target language. For instance, we have the sentence, he takes a taxi to go to his friend's party. In Vietnamese, there is no equivalent word that can replace this word, so we give it structure and pronunciation taxi. And translation based on the target context to find equivalent translation words. The context is different and the the expression as well as the meaning is also different. Sometimes we encounter words and sentences that seem easy to translate, but when put it into context, the meaning is unreasonable or the expression is lengthy and unreadable. So we have an example. He had various ideas on how to raise capital for the project. We often know the word with a meaning total, but it is many meanings. And in this sentence, it means single. So we can translate this sentence like this. And the next strategy is that translation based on the type of contract. Every contract is different. Something is right in one contract, but wrong in another. So contract is also an important factor in affecting the quality of translation. So now if we see an example like Nam Phương Queen Palace is seen by Du Nguyễn Hữu Hào, who is Nam Phương Queen's father. Here in Russian, contra means công tước, but in Eastern contra, it means quận công. So we can translate it. And we move to another strategy, consulting information resources on the internet. When translating technical terms or idioms that have no equivalent, reference is the most common way that translators use. For example, we can attend to translation fan pages or searching on online dictionaries like Oxford, Cambridge, Longin, or Thesaurus. And we'll finally ask professionals for advice. You can also ask people who have experience in translation. This is the fastest and the most effective way to find the answer. Specifically, you can find lecturers, friends, and colleagues to ask, or you can put on the translation forum. And now please move on to the notes for translation with Aristotle.
Okay. When translating from one language to another with the complete equivalence between the two, there are some important considerations to consider. And the first is understand the original text. To translate effectively, you need to clearly understand the content and meaning of the original text. This helps you to abbreviate words and sentence structures during the translation process. And the second, look for additional information. If there is no complete equivalence between the two languages, look for additional information to better understand some aspect of the text. Dictionaries, lookup tools, and online forums can be used for sources of information. And the next one is use specialized techniques. Translation techniques such as substitution or rephrasing can be applied to convert meaning from one language to another. Another aspect of translations. And the fourth is ensure accuracy and effectiveness. When translating a language that has no equivalent, try to ensure the accuracy and effectiveness of the message. This may require you to seek opinions or help from people who speak or write fluently in both languages. And finally, recheck the translation result. After completing the translation process, always recheck the results to ensure that the message has been conveyed accurately and clearly. That's all of our presentation. Thanks for your listening.